Let's move on for now. A day after India and China agreed to disengage from Doklam, the Indian government said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting China for the BRICS Summit, which starts from September 3rd. The disengagement in Doklam came as a big win for India after both the nations agreed to withdraw troops from the plateau, resulting in the cooling down of border tensions. India and China were locked in a military standoff in the Doklam Tri-Junction for over 2 months now after India prevented Chinese army from constructing a road in the disputed area. According to a government statement, the Prime Minister will be visiting China on the invitation of the Chinese President Xi Jinping. The 9th BRICS Summit will be held in China between September 3rd and 9th. Subsequently, Prime Minister Modi will pay a state visit to Myanmar from September 5th to 7th. At the invitation of the Myanmarese president. China has expressed hope that all BRICS nations will play a role for the success of the summit. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Hua Chunying, said, and I quote here, "Peaceful resolution of the issue through the diplomatic channels serves the common interests of all relevant parties. We hope all relevant parties can play a role for the success of the summit. We hope to get the support and coordination from all relevant parties," unquote. Asked about the road construction in Doklam, the spokesperson added China will continue to improve infrastructure along the border areas. She said, and I quote again, "In order to meet the needs of defending the borders, improving the living conditions, China has long engaged in infrastructural development, including the road construction. Chinese border troops will continue to station and patrol the Doklam area," unquote. In fact, also a question that was posed to her on whether China is in consultation with Bhutan went unanswered. Separately, Bhutan has welcomed the disengagement at the border. In a statement, Bhutan said, and I quote here, "We hope this contributes to the maintenance of peace and tranquility and status quo along the borders of Bhutan, China and India in keeping with the existing agreements between the respective countries," unquote. Let's go straight across to our correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran, who's been monitoring the developments as they come in, is now joining us from the international desk. Ramesh, first up, not surprising that the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson there refused to divulge details on whether China is in consultation with Bhutan. Post the dramatic developments witnessed yesterday after the disengagement, of course, the million-dollar question that stood was whether China will stop and commit to not building that road, which was the trigger for the flashpoint, and whether negotiations with Bhutan will resume.
Indeed, Molly, China has maintained a very strategic and conspicuous silence on the issue of whether China has indeed suspended road building activity on the Doklam Plateau or whether it will resume in the days, weeks or months ahead. That is a big question mark hanging over the resolution of the, or so-called resolution of the Doklam standoff. China maintaining absolute radio silence on the issue of whether it will continue to build that road there or not. But for the time being, though, it's a delicate balance that we've reached between India and China, that while China might not pursue or resume road building activity on the Doklam Plateau, India will pull out and has pulled out its troops from that region. So a very delicate balance there, Molly. It remains to be seen how long this understanding will hold in going forward.
As you mentioned, a delicate balance, Ramesh, which of course hinges on the Prime Minister's visit to BRICS. Now, the resultant question is, did China actually succumb to pressure in the wake of the BRICS Summit? What if things go back to the way they were before this disengagement was arrived at after the summit is completed?
Indeed, there's a lot of speculation doing the rounds both here in New Delhi as well as in Beijing and in many capitals around the world, Molly, as to whether India had made Prime Minister Modi's participation in the BRICS Summit contingent upon an early resolution of the Doklam standoff, thereby that both countries come to an understanding on resolving the issue before Prime Minister Modi makes an official announcement that he will indeed participate in the 9th BRICS Summit to be held on the 3rd of September at Xiamen in China. And significantly, Molly, the fact that Prime Minister Modi will attend was made only today, this afternoon. the day after both India and China announced an end to the standoff. So still the question remains unanswered. Did India make it clear to China that Prime Minister Modi will not attend if the issue was not resolved? That probably will know in the fullness of time. The fact remains that the deadline of the BRICS Summit would have been a catalyst or an incentive for China to resolve the issue before it gets out of hand, prompting India to not participate in the summit, which, by the way, would have been a big embarrassment for the host country.
Absolutely, and remains to be seen if after the summit China triggers another phase of the Doklam standoff. We'll of course wait and watch what really happens after that summit. Let's leave it there for the moment, Ramesh. Appreciate those details coming in. Moving on to other news that we are tracking at this point.